Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today we are looking at Connor's profile and going to be doing an accessibility check on this. And Connor has given me this challenge because he has already looked through and tried to fix as many accessibility issues that he could find. So the challenge is to find a few more that maybe aren't picked up by all of the automatic tests. And just to prove that Connor has done a really good job already, we'll have a look at the Axe Dev tools and see what we get. Okay, so one issue, ensure landmarks are unique. So really fantastic job. It's very difficult to have only one issue. Let's have a look at what this is saying. Okay, so it's highlighting nav here. And I think that is because if we scroll down, I had a quick look, you've also got the exact same navigation down at the bottom. And that is, they are exactly the same, which is fine. The way you can fix this is by adding an area labeled primary to both of them, because they are the same. So that then accessible technology will know that these navigations do show the same things. But brilliant. Other than that, there's not much to complain about here. Let's see if we can find some more issues, but also talk about the really good things that Connor has done on his site. So let's scroll up to the top. Looking immediately, I can see that we've got this animation going on, and I have also had a look on my mobile phone, and there's a little bit of things swiping in upwards from below or from the sides, a little bit of animation. So one thing that we can check is if we go down to this rendering tab down here, if it doesn't want to come up. It's being awkward. There we go. And we can see if Connor has a prefers reduced motion. So if I turn this on, prefers reduced motion reduce, okay, this is still animating at the same speed and in the same way as it was before. So that is definitely something you can look at, is adding a prefers reduced motion reduce. Often, if the animation is not necessary, if it doesn't convey any extra information, then a lot of people will just suggest turning the animations off completely with this prefers reduced motion reduce media query, because it just helps people that may have issues to be able to access your site a little bit easier. So that is something that you can consider. So the first thing I want to do then is do a check with tabbing and have a look through all of the links. Great, we go straight to your name at the top, and I can see that that's a link back to home, and then a home button, a blog button. I can see these are all links down in the left hand corner, which is great. They're all working as they should do. This, I assume, is a light dark mode toggle. We can have a look closer at this later, but I'm just going to click the enter button and see if this works. Yes, that toggles nicely and the colours look great. We can also do another quick Axe Dev tools to see if it likes these colours, if there's any colour contrast issues here. No, brilliant, still only one issue, so no colour contrast issues in your dark mode, which is fantastic. Okay, so now we're here, we'll switch back to light theme again. Okay, carry on. We've got some social links, and I can see again down in the corner where they lead, so these are links. We can make sure they've got accessible names in a minute when we listen to them on the screen reader. That's brilliant. Okay, where did I go then? I was on the envelope. Okay, I can just about see it, but here's an issue. I have got a focus ring, and it is around this hire me button, but it's so similar in colour to the actual button that I lost where I was on the page. So there's something to think about, is if you have black buttons and you have a black indicator, either put like a little bit of maybe a couple of pixels extra padding on it so that it sits outside of the button, because even if we look back at these buttons up here, it sits very, very tight to the edge of these buttons. So a little bit of extra padding around these if you really want the button to be black, the focus indicator to be black. That's one way. Or for all of the black buttons that you have on your page, choose another colour that stands out against them. So that you can see, okay, latest blog posts. Okay, then I end up on TypeScript. I don't end up on this article, which I would have expected to, but I end up on TypeScript. And let's see, if I click on enter, where do I end up? Okay, the page just reloads with an extra query in the URL, but it doesn't actually do anything. So that could be something to look at. These little links down here don't actually need to be links at all. And now I've lost my tabbing order, so I'm going to have to tab quickly through everything again. They don't need to be links, they don't lead anywhere, just a little bit confusing in that sense. We'll come back to these articles in a second and see why they're not linking anywhere. View all post here, brilliant. And then we go to the same navigation but down in the footer, that's great. Enter your email. Yep, there on the subscribe button again, it's dark and we can't see the focus indicator very well. And down here on our social buttons, right in the bottom corner, here the focus indicator is a different colour. So you might want to just look at making that the same on all of them. Just something to consider. Okay, but otherwise the tab order is pretty good. Let's just have a quick look actually at these articles and why. I can see when I hover over them, they have got like the little clicky hand, which makes me think that if I click it now, yeah, I can actually click it and come somewhere. So there's something going on, because when I hover over it, I don't get anything down in the bottom left hand corner either to indicate that these are links. So let's just have a quick inspect and see what's going on. Let's just grab the whole section. There's the H2 and P tag. That's brilliant as well. Having a header, but then a subheading, which that's not a header. It should be a P tag. That is perfect. An unordered list. That's also great with list items inside, because that will then tell me that there's 3 articles if I'm using a screen reader. Let's have a look what's going on here. Okay, so there's the entire article and you have put the link directly onto the article, but this doesn't have a role of link and therefore I can't open this with the enter key. It doesn't show me down in the bottom right hand corner. So that is definitely something to think about, that if you want this whole card to be a link, then you might need to add a role of link, or just take the href out and put it around the whole item. However, then it will, when you're scrolling through, it will say image, link, title, link, text, link. It will say that everything's a link, even though there's only one link in there. Also, the way that you've done this at the moment prevents me from, if I feel that I need to, some people like to highlight the text when they're reading. They like to do like this. But the way that this is made up currently, there's no way for me to highlight the text and read, because as soon as I let go of my mouse, I end up going to another page. So that's also something to keep in mind, have a look at. Let's have a look at this contact form. Just while we're here, actually, I might just be interested in checking what the colour contrast is on this little grey indicator underneath the home, because I'm guessing that's what indicates that this is active. And right now I'd say it's just a little bit too faint. Check that has a colour contrast ratio of 3:1, just so that it makes it a little bit clearer which one is the active tab at the moment. But I want to go to the contact page and see what we've got down here. Perfect. Okay, so we've got all our inputs are labelled, which is just brilliant, and we've got placeholders, so that's looking really good. I want to have a look at the actual how it's built. Let's find the section. Okay, again we've got the H2 and the P, which is brilliant, and then everything's inside a div. Here's our form. Okay, so you are using a field set with this form. However, when you use a field set, the very first child of a field set must always be a legend, and that's missing here. So I'd say that this form is not overly complicated, so you probably don't need a field set with an extra legend, so maybe take the field set out if you don't want the legend to go along with this. But as it is, the field set does need to have a legend as its first child, so that's just something to look at. Then we've got our labels and inputs. These are required. Just wondering if there's any error handling. So if I try to send this message without filling anything in, okay. So the only error handling seems to be because you've added these required, you get this little pop-up which disappears when I do something else. These little pop-ups, which is great for sighted users, but as you can see they disappear after a few seconds, and if I'm a bit slow at looking at that and trying to read what it says, or I actually can't see this form, those little messages don't get read out. They're different in every browser. Some browsers use them, some browsers don't. So they're not like a guaranteed way of telling somebody that there's something wrong with your form. So if you press submit and then one of those pops up, we can test it in a second actually with the screen reader, because the screen reader won't always read them out. So a bit of error handling here would be great. I know you're probably not that interested in like too much error handling, like people can submit the form or they don't, but yeah, some error handling would make this even more accessible. And the final thing before we fire up the screen reader, let's have a look at how this looks if we zoom in. Actually, I'm going to go back to the home page first, and then I want to zoom in all the way up to 400%. Okay, now I get on to the mobile sizing, but the button is still accessible, which is brilliant, and I can still tab between these different pages. Excellent. That all works. That's brilliant. So let's just have a scroll down. The thing that happens most often here is you make the header sticky, but then when you zoom in, as you can see, it takes up quite a large amount of the page. And that's something you need to consider, whether you want it to take up that much of the page, or whether you actually it's not that important. Most people nowadays, especially if they're using their phones, they have the scroll to top button, and it's not massively difficult for people to scroll to the top of the page. They know that the navigation is going to be at the top of the page if they want to find it. So if you're tight on real estate, then not having this fixed, not having the fixed navigation is something that you can do. But most of this looks really good. Everything's reflowing nicely. Just check everything. Oh, look, right there at the bottom, something happened to here. The little sticky navigation's got a white background, and it's been fine all the way along. And all of a sudden we get to here, and the background disappears, and you've got things overlapping. So that might just be a little bug that we found there, Connor, which you can take a look at. Yeah, because it's hard to see because it overlaps the button. But other than that, it's looking really, really nice. Also, one thing that I wanted to point out, maybe if we zoom out a little bit, There we go. Another thing that's really great for dyslexic readers is having all of your text left aligned. So often with cards like this, people will like center align them, but that makes it harder for people to read, especially people that have things like dyslexia. So it's always great to left align as much of your content as you can. Okay, let's fire up the screen reader and see what she says. Our friend Susan. Okay, so I'm actually quite interested in hearing how these links and buttons are announced by the screen reader. So we're going to tab through the site and see if all of these links and things have accessible names.
Home Kona Murphy document. Visited link, home link, blog, visited link, newsletter, visited link, contact. Kona Murphy visited link.
Okay, interesting that she reads out all of the things in the navigation at the same time. That's something we can have a look at in a minute.
Navigation landmark, home visited link. Blog link. Newsletter visited link. Contact visited link.
Okay, so she's telling me that these are links. She didn't tell me that this was a list of 4 items, or unless she did that before when she did the whole spiel about Conor Murphy. Sometimes she speaks so fast that I have trouble keeping up. I don't know how screen reader users do it sometimes, to be honest, because they crank the speed right up. I would just not listen and have to listen to things 6 or 7 times.
Dark theme toggle icon, graphic dark theme toggle icon button.
Okay. She doesn't tell me which one's activated. Okay, so she told me dark theme toggle. Okay, and if I press enter, she doesn't give me any feedback about which one is activated. So that's just something that you could add, is a little bit of feedback. Which one am I on? Am I on light mode or dark mode? And then when I click it, what am I on now? Just something to consider.
Twitter logo graphic, Twitter logo visited link. LinkedIn logo graphic, LinkedIn logo visited link.
Okay, she's announcing these ones twice. So there may be something... there may be double labels somewhere in here.
Email icon, graphic envelope icon link. Main landmark, hire me visited link. Latest blog posts link. List with 3 items, clickable TypeScript visited link.
Yeah, these don't need to be links.
Clickable next.js link.
And you notice again she's hopped straight over the article itself, so that's not accessible.
Link. Clickable UI visited link. View all posts here link. Content info landmark, navigation landmark, home visited link. Blog link. Newsletter visited link. Contact visited link. Enter your email, edit required, invalid entry blank.
Okay, you heard that it was required. You heard the little ding. That means that I can enter something here.
Subscribe button. Twitter logo graphic, Twitter logo visited link. LinkedIn logo graphic, LinkedIn logo visited link. Email icon, graphic envelope icon link.
Yeah, just that she's repeating things a couple of times. Let's just turn her off and see if we can find what's going on there.
Close.
So let's have a quick look to see why these icons may be getting read out twice. If we just see if we can find them. They're inside an address, which is brilliant because address can be used for housing contact details, so that's used in the correct way. And it can be any kind of contact details. It doesn't just have to be a physical address, it can also be social links and that kind of thing, telephone numbers. So this is perfectly good use of the address element. And inside here we have the links. The links themselves do not have a label on them. And then we have the SVG inside with a role of image, which is brilliant, which means they appear, and with an area label of Twitter logo. However, here it might be that it's reading out Twitter logo for the link and Twitter logo for the SVG. So the question is, obviously we want role with image, area label, Twitter logo. It might be worth putting an area area described by, and linking it to the SVG, so that it could be described by the actual SVG itself. I don't know if that would fix the issue of it being read out twice. But that's something that you could look at. Or I'm just thinking, you could, in theory, because this is a link, you could remove the role image and area label here from the SVG and just put the area label directly onto the link. That might be the best way to solve that issue, actually. Finally, let's have a look at this navigation as well. I've got the navigation here. Yeah, and it didn't tell me that this was a list. Often in a navigation, everything gets wrapped in as a list item, so that it will tell you how many items are in this navigation list. So that's something to consider as well. Just then it will read to me that, this is a list of 4 navigation items, then I know what to expect, how long this navigation is, whether I want to skip over it or not. But there you go. So a fantastic site, really, really good accessibility already. A few small things to consider. Make sure that the focus indicator on dark buttons is a different colour or has more padding so that the focus indicator is visible on all interactive elements. Consider adding a prefers reduced motion, reduce media query so that people that can't cope with the animations have the choice to turn them off. Think about how you have structured these links on these articles, because at the moment they're not actually accessible with keyboard or with the screen reader. And have a look at the form and either adding a legend or removing the field set. And finally, have a look at the navigation header at the top of the page and just make sure that when you are zoomed in, either that disappears or that the white background doesn't disappear over the footer area of the page. But all in all, a fantastic website. I'm really impressed, Connor. You've done a fantastic job. It can only get better from here. What can I say? Thank you so much for letting me have a play around with your site. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you have enjoyed what you see. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Just drop them down in the description down below. If you'd like me to have a look at your site, if you think you've got a really good site and you'd like to challenge me to find something, I don't want to say wrong with it, but if you want me to find any accessibility issues, do let me know. I would love to find a site that I can't find any issues at all. That would be fantastic. I'm not even sure if it's possible to make a site with no issues at all. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you have enjoyed what you've seen and have a great week. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!